Without so much as a warning, life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same. Ever. Destruction never sleeps, and neither do we, as we continue to bring you some of the most intense footage ever captured. In Australia, a gas explosion so powerful it creates a fireball more than 650 feet in diameter. In Tornado Alley, USA, a massive twister bears down on a farm, then rips it to shreds. Think you've seen it all? Well, think again, as things get destroyed in seconds. Emergency crews respond to a fire at a storage facility for liquefied petroleum gas, also known as LPG. LPG is a mixture of propane and butane, both highly volatile chemicals. The compound is stored on the grounds in massive pressurized tanks. One of the tanks springs a leak and catches on fire. Now the intense heat from the flames threatens to turn it and several neighboring tanks into giant bombs. Authorities believe that the resulting blast could carve out a half-mile wide crater, obliterating nearby homes.
All people to evacuate the area now. There could be a landing flight at any minute.
The nearby Sydney airport is shut down.
Sydney Airport closed to all operations due gas fire in vicinity.
An amateur cameraman trains his lens on the blaze, completely unprepared for what happens next. Inside the tanks, temperatures reach 469 degrees Fahrenheit, causing the liquefied petroleum gas to boil. As the boiling liquid turns to gas and expands, the cylinder's 6-inch thick steel walls rupture, setting off a blevy. The blevy creates a fireball more than 650 feet in diameter. It billows more than a half-mile into the air. In an attempt to prevent more explosions, a firefighter walks into the heart of the inferno and opens pressure release valves on the tanks. By releasing the pressure, the tanks stay intact, and firefighters are finally able to get the upper hand. By daybreak, the fire is contained. 3 people are injured. A large swath of the plant is now a mass of twisted metal. One of the tanks that exploded is hurled nearly 1,000 feet. Investigators are never able to determine what caused the gas leak or how it ignited. Damages from the fire and explosion exceed $10 million. A day of extreme weather in Tornado Alley, USA, has professional storm chasers scrambling.
I love Kansas!
Reed Timmer and his group are tracking super low pressure storm cells as they roll across the western part of the state. Nearing a strong storm cell, they encounter a barrage of hail.
Hail! You guys having a good time?
About 1 mile east of Calvesta, Kansas, Reed Timmer and his crew witness a tornado as it touches down.
Tornado on the ground. I'd say probably a tenth to a quarter mile wide. Best tornado of the year, guys. By far. Strong tornado. We got to get there. Let's get in front of it. We might be able to pull right up to it, guys.
Reed tries to get closer, but roads covered in icy hail slow him down.
All right, you truck, let's go. Pull up. I can't pass because there's so much ice.
But a few miles away, John Halen captures the same tornado from a different vantage point.
Gotta keep an eye on those houses over there.
A ranch stands directly in the twister's path.
Oh, that's not good.
Inside the house, a woman takes cover as the tornado moves in with winds of roughly 115 miles per hour.
Oh, that's not good. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's not good.
ranch's two-story outbuilding is ripped apart, sending the structure's roof and walls flying through the air. A moment later, the roof on the main house is jolted into the sky.
Oh my gosh, I hope they're okay.
After a few minutes, the tornado continues on its path, and John moves in to record the damage.
There's stuff everywhere.
All that remains of the outbuilding is the slab it was built on and the harvester it was protecting. The woman in the house is uninjured after taking shelter in the basement. Damages to the property are estimated at $250,000. There's a reason why they're called ultralights. By definition, these small, nimble airplanes can't weigh more than 254 pounds. Ultralights are an affordable way for novice pilots to own their own aircraft. Certified sport pilot Marty Lunsford takes off in his ultralight. On previous flights, Marty experienced minor issues with his engine not reaching full power. But on this day, these minor issues suddenly develop into a major problem. Marty can only brace himself as the plane crashes into a grove of trees, then slams into the ground. The ultralight lands pitched nose first on a patch of grass just off a paved road. Marty suffers a punctured lung and several broken bones, including his pelvis, 2 vertebrae, and rib. When Marty's friends retrieve the plane, they find the fuel valve in the off position, which would prevent fuel from entering the engine. But Marty says the ultralight would not have been able to idle for 10 minutes prior to takeoff if that were the case. The reason for the engine failure remains a mystery. It's the British Powerboat Grand Prix at the Bristol Docks Racecourse. Since the early 1980s, this infamous circuit has claimed the lives of several racers. F1 powerboat racers speed around hairpin turns and narrow corridors as they risk their lives to win on this unforgiving course. June 1992. Racer Guido Cappellini is competing in his brand new 300 horsepower dual-hulled craft. At the start of the race, Guido quickly takes the lead, but not for long. Out of the first turn, Guido hits 110 miles per hour. Suddenly, Guido's boat gets hooked on a small wave. From another angle, we see just how fast Guido is going when he's forced into the wall. A large piece of the boat breaks off and flies into the crowd. Spectators gather at the rail as rescue workers rush to help the fallen driver. A rescue boat arrives on scene. Guido is pulled aboard and examined for neck and back injuries. No one in the crowd is injured by the flying debris, but Guido's brand new $1 million boat is completely destroyed. Guido survives with only minor injuries. He not only returns to racing, he goes on to become a legend. It's the rough and tumble sport of rock crawling. Specially modified four-wheelers crawl up, over, and down the most extreme terrain imaginable. the United Rock Crawling Obstacle Challenge hill climb in Portland, Indiana. A rock crawler trying to tackle a steep incline flips over and lands right side up. Standage makes it to the top of the hill, loses momentum. Then, the right rear tire hits a rock. The 3,000-pound crawler flips and lands on all four tires. Because of a loose harness, Standage's head slams against the steering wheel. He's instantly knocked unconscious, but his foot remains on the gas. The rock crawler races into the crowd, slams into a light tower, careens over another vehicle, barely misses more spectators, and rams into two parked crawlers. Standage immediately regains consciousness. Despite hitting his head, he's not injured. Luckily, neither is anyone in the crowd. Standage's crawler suffers a broken tire rod. As a result of this accident, judges now check every driver before they climb to make sure that their harness is secure. July 12, 2000. A crowd of around 7,000 gathers to watch a military show in honor of Tall Tall Chile's 142nd anniversary. The show's finale highlights amphibious ships accompanied by two helicopters overhead. But before the ceremony ends, disaster strikes. As the aircraft fly along their planned route, the far left helicopter's tail rotor hits a 150-foot radio antenna practically invisible to the pilot. With its tail rotor damaged, the chopper loses stability and plummets to the ground. It hits two homes, then lands on a parked car in the street. Military personnel seal off the crash zone. Luckily, the car and both damaged houses are empty at the time of the crash. The helicopter's pilot and co-pilot suffer only minor injuries. The roughly $1 million Jet Ranger helicopter is completely destroyed. In the blistering California desert, BMX world record holder Adam Strebe and his friends perform jumps for a music video. The highlight calls for Adam to jump over 8 cars and a boat. With his usual jumping bike damaged, Adam decides to use a lighter racing model. A decision that he'll soon regret. Adam bails out midair when he realizes he's going to overshoot the landing ramp. He lands feet first from 30 feet up and loses both shoes on impact. Two factors contribute to the crash. A tailwind kicks in just before Adam takes off. And, due to damage, Adam isn't riding his usual jumping bike, but a much lighter racing model.
I'm good. My ankle's screwed, though.
In addition to spraining his ankle, Adam suffers one fracture to his leg and 8 more along his spine. He undergoes several surgeries and makes a full recovery. Adam's $800 bike is totaled, but this crash doesn't deter him. He later returns to the sport he loves. Road Atlanta, Northeast Georgia. The dip is one of the most notorious turns in all of auto racing. Since the 1970s, hundreds of Formula One stock and Indy cars have fallen victim to the perilous turn number 10. Drivers come out of a sharp left turn over the crest of a hill, then must maneuver quickly right at speeds topping 150 miles per hour. Centrifugal force shifts weight displacement to the car's left side. The car's right tires lift up, leading to a loss of traction and sending many unwitting drivers out of control. Here, car 11 spins out and gets hit by car number 4, which immediately catches on fire when the gas tank erupts. Both men walk away uninjured. But few crashes are as violent as this one. Veteran racer Randy Canfield comes out of the turn. He loses control, flipping his convertible 8 times. With each flip, his arms flail. Rescue crews rush to his aid. They secure Randy to a backboard and extract him from his car. Randy manages to survive the wreck with no injuries. In 1996, a new owner redesigned the course. The dip is replaced with a chicane, a series of turns designed to help slow cars down, resulting in fewer crashes and injuries at Road Atlanta. I'm Ron Pitts. We'll see you next time on Destroyed in Seconds.